Welcome to Sparks of History, where world history and Jewish history meet. We are extremely pleased to have with us today Professor Steven Gimbel. Professor Gimbel was previously the chair of the philosophy department at Gettysburg College. His research focuses primarily upon issues in the philosophy of science, more specifically physics. Professor Gimbel recently authored Isn't That Clever? A Philosophy of Humor and Comedy. And Professor Gimbel has written two books on Albert Einstein. One is entitled Einstein's Jewish Science, Physics at the Intersection of Politics and Religion. And today we will be discussing Albert Einstein, His Space and Times, which is part of the Yale University Jewish Live series. It's a short but wonderful page turner, very easy to get. Just go onto Amazon, purchase it as I do, Amazon delivery, and you get it right to your house. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it very, very much. Just to start off, Professor Gimbel, just a little bit about your background and how you became interested in Albert Einstein.
Well, you can't be a Jewish physics nerd and not love Albert Einstein. I grew up watching science documentaries and just fell in love from a very young age with physics. And then in university, I studied both physics and philosophy and became a philosopher of physics. My research for my dissertation focused on interpretations of the general theory of relativity. So I'm sure we'll get into this in a bit, but the cartoon is that Newton has a flat space, Einstein curves space. But the philosophical question is, well, if these theories are true, what do they actually tell us about the universe? And so I wrote on the metaphysics of Einstein's theory. Then one day I was sitting in my office doing work, and my colleague Stephen Stern, who's the chair of our Jewish Studies program, came in my office and started talking, which is what he does. And he was talking, he's the chair of Jewish Studies, but he's a philosopher by training. And he was saying that, we teach ethics, but we always teach it as Christian ethics. Jewish ethics is very different. And as he was going on to describe these differences, and he talks about Jewish ethics as being very dialogue-based, whereas Christian ethics, there is an answer, and we're looking for the mechanism that gives us the absolute truth, as opposed to an ongoing dialogue that gives rise to insight. As he was describing it, I realized, oh my goodness, what he's actually talking about is the method that Einstein uses in several of his most important papers. And I mentioned that, and he did something that was very much unlike him. He stopped talking, and we looked at each other, and we had the same idea. This could be a paper. And so we created a paper. It was originally called Einstein's Jewish Science, that looked at Einstein's scientific methodology and compared it to a sort of Talmudic approach. Not saying that one influenced the other, but isn't it interesting that both of these seem structurally similar in the way of thinking, which then led to the first book, which then led to the second book, which then led to our conversation.